Hello guys, welcome to a new video here in JS Education. My name is Carlos Santana and this is the video number 40 for the course developing a headless CMS with TypeScript and GraphQL. So let's start. So the first thing we need to do is, as always, update our packages using ncu-u, and then just make sure you are updating the versions you are seeing on my terminal to avoid any issue, and then you install those. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is going to Frontend, and you need to go to .gitignore, and we are going to add two new folders here. The first one is a folder /content, and the second one is the JSON files inside public/content. So just like that. And then we need to install a new package called node-local storage on frontend. And then also, of course, you need to install the types package. So after you install this, you also need to do npm install add types /node-local storage-d. So you install on the dependencies. And now on public, you need to create a new folder called content. And then inside, you need to create a file called .git-keep. So this is just to keep this folder existing, but we are going to ignore the JSON files that we will put there. Okay, so now let's go to the backend, source, data, content. And for now, we are going to copy these three files. And you need to paste them into the public content, just like that, Okay, perfect. Now, let's go to source, app, dashboard, and then page not found, index. So we need to make some changes on this component because we are going to pass a new prop called no layout. Basically, right now is showing the layout or the main layout with the header, content, footer, and sidebar. So we want to display this error also in an isolated version. So for this, we need to break the styles in two parts. So we are going to create a page 404 const, and then we are going to move this part inside here. And then based on the prop no layout, if no layout is true, we are going to render the main layout with no flex, which is to remove flexbox, but we are not going to include header, content, and footer. And if it's false as default, we are going to show the same main layout with page 404 we had before. Okay, then let's go to users login, and in here we need to import a context that we will create later, and you need to get, or you will get, a new prop called double underscore, also named as content, is known as content. When you see internationalization code, this is very common to see. It's double underscore to avoid confusions with, for example, underscore library or Lodash. So normally it's expressed with two underscores. And basically you just need to pass it here. And then we need to grab from the context the T function, which is gonna be like a translation there. Then in our redirect to method, we have a new parameter called include language. So basically, because now we will have translation, the second parameter, when we set it to true, is going to affect our current URL and is going to add the current language to the URL. And basically now our translations, or the way we are doing translations, is with the T function. Basically you just pass in the parameter the English word, like is written in English. So in this case, email. And then T password. And then here you can do the same, T login and T register, just like that. So if you remember on the last video, we just had these three translation files with 4 words: email, login, password, and register. Okay, after that, you need to create a context. So basically go to context and create a new file called content.tsx. And this is the code for that. Basically, it's going to receive the content, the double underscore, and is going to export the content as well, and the t function. Basically, the t function receives a key and is going to try to access to the object on the content. It's like if we do, for example, underscore that email or that password, etc. But because it's a dynamic key, then we need to use the array syntax. If that word doesn't exist in the object, basically we are going to return just the key. So that's why we don't have a file for English, because basically we are writing the text in English directly on the T functions. So if it doesn't exist, the file is going to return always the key. So that's the way we do English. Okay, so now the second thing you need to do is go into Pages, and you need to create a folder called bracket language bracket. And then you're going to move the dashboard inside, and then open users and move just the login file into language, and remove users directory. And now you need to go to the model.tsx file. And in here, we are going to consume our content provider. But basically, we need to modify a little bit this page, because now we are going to receive the prop double underscore. And basically, we need to grab our application into the content provider like this. And if you see here, I'm passing the content variable to the content provider. Okay, after that, you need to go to login. And in here, we're going to grab the functional component, and then also the provider, content provider. And we are going to change our login page to be just page, to standardize with the others pages we have. And then, well, you need to remove this label here and the return. And basically, now we are going to receive also the double underscore prop. And we need to do the same as we did on the other files. We need to grab our entire application into this content provider. So all of this is going to have access to the translations. Okay, after this, you need to go to underscore app. And in here, we need to add 2 new dependencies, fetch and local storage. And basically, also, you are going to include or import config and page not found. And then the export default we have here, we are going to remove that, and we are going to place that at the end, export default app. Okay, and then we are going to receive two new props, is double underscore and then the prop error. So in here, underscore is going to be any, and error is going to be Boolean, just like that. We need to fix the Apollo client because this validation is going to break when we use get initial props from Next, because it's going to execute the server side rendering there. And we just need to validate that page props that initial Apollo state exists, otherwise we return an empty object. And then if the error prop is true, we are going to return our page not found with the no layout prop. And this component here is going to, we are going to pass the content to this component, which is the one that send the prop to the login, this one, and to the model. So from the app is sending that information. But probably at this point you are wondering like where is coming from this double underscore variable. So basically here we are going to do app.getInitialProps, which is going to be an asynchronous function. We receive the router, and then we are going to use local storage. As you know, local storage is for the browser only, but this library helps us to do some kind of cache for Next. So the package is called local storage. So basically, if it doesn't exist or if it's not set, basically we create a new local storage with this directory or this folder /content. We grab the language from the router. If it's not set, basically we just grab it from the config languages default. If you go to config common, you will see here we have languages and then default language and the list of the languages. Or initial content variable is an empty object and the error is false. So if the language is different than English, that can be Spanish from Mexico, Japanese, or Arabic, and also is included on the list that I just showed you on the config. So this is a list of available languages. If it's a valid language, we are going to ask if we don't have a local storage for that language. If we don't have it, means it's like a fresh translation, right? So we are going to do a fetch here from config.base URL, like localhost 3000/content/ es.mx or Japanese file, etc. .json. So those JSONs are the ones that we move to public content and these three files. Once we have the response, we are going to save our language, or I mean the entire object, using local storage set item. The name is going to be the language, and then JSON.stringify, because remember that we need to save it as a string. And if there is a file, let's suppose they are trying to load the Japanese, but this file doesn't exist here. So if there is an error on the try catch, we are going to mark that error as true. And then if the local storage item already exists, then we are going to grab that local storage.get item, the language, and then we're going to parse that because we already know it's a JSON string, right? So now we used to do the opposite, JSON.parse. And then if it's another language that is different, I mean, it can be English or can be any other thing that the users put on the URL. So if the language is different than English, then it's going to be an error. We are going to say true. But if they send English, code, then it's not gonna be an error, right? Because remember that we don't have a file for English, so that's why we are doing this validation. And now here we return these three props: the double underscore, the error, and the language. And that's the props we are receiving here. Okay, now you need to go to document. And in this file, we have access using double underscore next data props. We have access to this language prop, which is this one. When you return language here, we have access to these three props here. So basically we grab the language and we are going to change the lang attribute on HTML, but also we are going to change the direction for the Arabic language, because remember that the Arabic is read right to left and any other language is read left to right. So that's the validation we need to do there. And the last file we need to move is the server. And then in here, you need to import the function available languages from fogg-utils. And then on the login, we're going to add a new endpoint that receives the language at the beginning, only the available languages. This available languages method is going to return the languages in a string like this, like for example, en use pipe esmx pipe r pipe Japanese, etc. So only the available languages, right? So we need the first parameter to be the language /login, and basically we are going to grab the language from the parameters and we are going to render that page /language/login. And remember that we add a new directory on the pages, so that parameter is going to be passed to next as well. And our old login endpoint is going to be just a redirection now to the default language /login. And then in here, you need to change the dashboard endpoint to be also receiving the language parameter. And also you need to change the redirection. So this redirection is going to be now including the default language on the login. Also you need to grab the language here on the parameters, and you need to pass the language to the build URL like this and pass the language to the query. And we are going to duplicate this dashboard, just the /dashboard, and it's gonna be a redirection to the current language or default language /dashboard. So we don't lose the old URLs that we have available before. So that's it. Let's test our application to see if everything works fine. Let's run npm run dev on front end and back end. And then in here, if you see, we are visiting the English version. That's why you are seeing email, password, login, and register. But now if we specify s-mx, which is Spanish, now we are going to see the Spanish version. Correo electrónico, contraseña, conectar, and registro. Also, you can see the Japanese version by doing like this, GP. And this is the Japanese version. And finally, the Arabic version, just AR. And if you remember, we changed the direction of the text on the HTML. So because Arabic reads from right to left, so that's why. And also if you put like a language that doesn't exist or is not available yet, like for example French, then you're going to see this page 404, which is like isolated on the layout. And then if you see now my content folder, you can see here the cache that the language is, where the language is created. So that's why the second time we save a little bit more time doing the fetch. So that's it for this video. I hope you like it. Remember that if you have any question, feel free to join our Slack community. The link is on the description. Also, if you want to help me to grow this channel, please share this video with your friends and subscribe to this new channel. So that's it. Thank you for your time and see you in the next video. Bye.